The Tea Biz podcast delivers tea news that you need to know. A recap of the week's major headlines with commentary and cultural trends hosted by Dan Bolton. It is the voice of origin for tea professionals and enthusiasts worldwide.
Tea nourishes and inspires. It is an ancient plant-based medicine that simultaneously heals and energizes the body as it soothes the mind. Making fine tea is a blend of artistry and craftsmanship. The $200 billion tea trade is fundamentally local, yet exerts global influence, employing millions to enhance the well-being of all. Hello, everyone. Here are this week's headlines. Top buyer Cargill exits the Mombasa tea auction after 40 years. Tea importers oppose Pakistan's minimum retail price. And non-profit True Pricing releases a food and beverage report. Plus, the history of tea at Christmas. The tradition of drinking tea, herbal infusions, and spiced beverages during the holiday season has evolved from medieval medicinal remedies to sophisticated and cherished modern holiday customs, reflecting centuries of cultural exchange, religious symbolism, and festive cheer. Who better to describe this history than our guest today, Santa Claus himself? The jolly old elf witnessed all these events firsthand. More in a minute, but first, this important message.
What happens when businesses along the tea supply chain get together and support women and children in tea communities? The mother and child-friendly seal for responsible business is creating long-term positive impacts, making your cup of Ceylon tea all the sweeter. Learn more at srilanka-motherandchildseal.org.
Cargill, Kenya Limited, the largest buyer at the Mombasa auction, announced it would cease trading tea after 40 years. The company purchases approximately 60,000 metric tons annually, which gives it a 15 to 20% market share at the weekly auction. The annual trade value ranges from 180 to 210 million. The sales have declined in the past year following the sale of Unilever's tea properties to Lipton Teas and Infusions. The company also manages 6 Mombasa warehouses with a combined capacity of 20,000 metric tons. Cargill has extensive trade contracts for wheat, maize, barley, and soybeans grown in East Africa. An internal Cargill memo reported by Food Business Africa disclosed that the tea business lacks clear synergies with Cargill's other agriculture and trading divisions, prompting the decision to divest. Tea operations were initially developed to support Unilever's tea holdings. However, according to the memo, the business is no longer a strategic fit following Unilever's sale. The Mombasa operation employs 40 workers. Cargill chairman and CEO Brian Sykes, who joined the Minnesota-based company's board last January, has consolidated the company's operational units globally in response to declining commodity prices. He announced, quote, "Our recent performance and emerging market trends underscore the urgent need for change," end quote. Cargill is the largest privately held company in the U.S. with an annual turnover of $160 billion for the fiscal year ending May 2024, a decrease from the previous year's $177 billion. Cargill, Kenya is the company's oldest footprint in the African continent. The tea trading operation was founded in 1948 by the Raleigh brothers, who initially traded cotton. Cargill acquired Raleigh in 1984, and the tea operations were integrated into the company's agricultural supply chain enterprise in the Europe, Middle East, and African region. According to Agris News, Cargill's clients include Van Rees, Mitchell Cotts, and KTTA Chai Trading, all of which have transitioned to other service providers. There are 82 trading companies active in the Mombasa tea auction. Business Insight. The East Leaf Voice writes, quote, "Cargill's exit is expected to create downward pressure on tea prices, potentially reducing farmers' income at a time when they were hoping for improvement through ongoing sector reforms." End quote. Pakistan's newly imposed minimum retail price for tea imports and locally grown tea is taxing the patience of importers and tea sellers. Black tea imports dropped 24% in November to 38 million, down 1.78 billion rupees, as an estimated 1/4 of tea imports shifted to illegal channels, according to Pakistan Tea Association Chairman Mohammed Altaf. The 1,200 rupee per kilo retail minimum set by Pakistan's Federal Board of Revenue, FBR, for black tea has raised concerns about increased cost and depressed demand. FBR initiated the minimum to enhance government revenue during a fiscal crisis. Importers protest that the tax should apply to the actual import value of processed tea, mainly landed in bulk for blending and packaging. Instead, FBR levies a standardized 18% sales tax based on a retail market price determined by the government, resulting in a sales tax of 216 rupees per kilo. If the actual retail price exceeds the MRP of 1,200 rupees per kilo, the sales tax is calculated on the higher price. According to FBR, this policy ensures that the tax reflects the true market value of the product. The association officials said the fixed MRP will increase packaged tea prices by 150 to 300 rupees per kilo, burdening consumers and encouraging the smuggling of lower quality tea from Afghanistan. Altaf told Pakistan Today that the standardized MSR oversimplifies the complexities of the tea trade and will lead to significant revenue loss by the end of the fiscal year. The Sales Tax Act of 1990 does not explicitly classify tea as a raw material. Instead, tea is grouped with mate under the provisions of the Customs Act of 1969. Applying the tax to the declared import value will lower tax revenue. Pakistan imported 161,823 metric tons of tea during the first 7 months of the current fiscal year, January through July. The tea, mainly supplied by Kenya, was valued at $391 million, an increase of 7.6% compared to the same period last year. Kenya exports 83% of Pakistan's imported tea, with Rwanda at 4.5% and Uganda at 4%, accounting for the remainder. The True Price Foundation has published an insightful 28-page report on food pricing in retail and food service. The report is relevant to cafes, canteens, restaurants, supermarkets, and tea shops. The foundation is a nonprofit organization headquartered in the Netherlands dedicated to fully understanding the hidden social and environmental impacts of products not included in prices. Quote, "In the context of food, true pricing aims to ensure affordable and healthy food is accessible to all people," writes the report. The report, free to download at truepricefoundation.org, responds to a growing momentum for true pricing in food retail and food service. Quote, "True pricing is increasingly becoming a tendering distinguisher in public procurement for catering and supermarkets," end quote, according to the report, which describes a true pricing pilot underway at German retailer Penny. Transparency is the heart of the foundation's work. Quote, "At its core, true pricing is about comprehensive transparency on products, how they are made, and what additional costs might be associated with the transition to a food system that respects the rights of people and ecological boundaries," end quote. According to the report, what you can achieve with true pricing depends on the traceability level of your assortment. The report identifies several business advantages of true pricing, including greater engagement with consumers, trust in supply chains that help prevent price shocks, differentiation from competitors, and data generation to meet forthcoming compliance requirements for sustainability established by EU regulators. The report encourages retailers to discover hidden costs and then close the gap between market price and true price, noting that the most significant impacts of food often occur within the product value chain, especially on farms. The Foundation has developed a true price method to quantify hidden costs. Quote, "The degree of detail of a true price scan increases when a business and its suppliers collect more data, allowing you to make more informed decisions about products or suppliers. Data collection and refinement of the true price scan is an ongoing process." Business Insight. The report advises producers to first align their company with sustainability practices and for retailers to incentivize consumers, and then with the help of sommeliers, baristas, and waitstaff, communicate in the consumer's own language. Retailers benefit, for example, by identifying environmental costs that amount to 18% of the purchase price, backed by an audit of the supply chain using the true price methodology. Next, Arvinda and Antheraman in Bengaluru reports on this week's India Tea News.
India Tea News for the week ending 13th December 2024. As we reach the end of the year, the Tea Board has released data on tea exports. We have exports for April to September 2024, which shows an increase in value by 13.18% compared to the same period last year. It corresponds to an increase of 8.67% in volume, which is an export of 122.55 million kilos is against 112.77 million kilos for the same period last year. Data from January to September 2024 indicates exports stood at 190.08 million kilos, of which 110.69 million kilos came from North India and 79.39 from South India. Increase from last year is at 28.82 million kilos, and the average price stood at 266 rupees 45 paise per kilo. And in other news, our reporter from Guwahati, Rupa Goswami, reports on the first Assam type Indian tea genome decoded. It's been a landmark discovery. A team of scientists from different institutions across India have worked together to decode the first chromosome-scale genome sequence of India's Assam tea variety TB1, marking a significant advancement in our understanding of tea genetics. The cultivar was released by Toklai in 1949. The study has been published now in Industrial Crops and Products Journal and provides insights into how Assam tea evolved, developed its distinctive traits, and synthesized caffeine, revealing the genetic adaptations that differentiate it from the China varietal. And by analyzing 150 tea genotypes worldwide, the team identified that Assam and China tea diverged approximately 5.5 million years ago, each adapting to its specific growing conditions. Assam tea in tropical lowlands and China tea in the mountainous regions. The research also revealed over 500 genes in Assam tea shaped by domestication and includes genes linked to caffeine production, leaf size, and branching patterns. And these traits help explain Assam tea's robust flavor and adaptability to warm climates. The breakthrough can potentially aid tea breeders in developing climate-resilient, high-yielding, and high-quality varieties. The multi-institutional collaborative study was funded by the National Tea Research Foundation, Tea Board of India, and led by Dr. Tapan Kumar Mondal, Principal Scientist at the Indian Council of Agricultural Research, New Delhi. Other institutes that have been part of it are the Toklai Tea Research Institute, Jorhat, Upasi Tea Research Foundation, and the Tea Research Institutes at Valparai, and the Darjeeling Tea Research and Development Board. The results of the study are accessible through the Tea India Genome e-resource database. That's available online. The website being indianteagenome.in.
And now, a word from this week's sponsor.
Hello, I'm Bogdan, a passionate tea drinker and the inventor of the ultimate tea machine, the Brew Maker 1. Preparation is key to making fine tea. Sequential steepings deliver the best taste possible and unlock the true value of whole leaf teas and botanicals. Brew automates that process without using any pots or capsules. This simple-to-operate, smartphone-controlled device stores steeping profiles to consistently make great tea at the push of a button. Brew also reduces time, waste, and energy. That's because I engineered the brew to remember control settings for temperature, brewing time, and quantity. Using my patented process lets you stack steeps simply and conveniently.
The tradition of drinking tea, herbal infusions, and spiced beverages during the holiday season has evolved from medieval medicinal remedies to sophisticated and cherished modern holiday customs, reflecting centuries of cultural exchange, religious symbolism, and festive cheer. Who better to describe this history than our guest today, Santa Claus himself? The jolly old elf witnessed all these events firsthand.
Ho, ho, ho. My first memories are of a magnificent seaside home on the island of Lucia, in a place now called Turkey. It was then the land of the Greeks, who were under the rule of Rome. The Tara was a maritime city, a city of commerce, and the capital of Lycia, distant by road from Athens, but close by sea. Tea was unknown where I lived. In those times we drank chilled juice, milk with honey, and wine diluted with water, all handed down from Alexander the Great, who conquered Lycia 300 years before the Christian era. I was born to luxury, but cursed by my parents' early deaths in the plague. Left with great riches, I devoted myself to Christianity from an early age and vowed to spend my wealth on the needy and disadvantaged children of every class. An acolyte with great religious vigor, I was sent to Myra, where in time I was elected bishop. Persecuted and imprisoned for years until freed by Emperor Constantine, I survived to perform miracles, rescue the innocent, protect children, and care for others with generosity. Sainthood followed my passing in December 343 AD. I became Saint Nicholas, Saint Nicola, and over time Noel Baba, Kris Kringle, Sinterklaas, Papa Noel, Grandfather Frost, and in Italy, Babbo Natale. For 1,754 years, I have been the spirit of Christmas, overseeing the annual winter celebrations with joy. Here's a brief history of what I've seen. 500 years after Roman times had passed, St. Nicholas Day had become a major feast in Europe, where children received small gifts in my honor. Tea was unknown in Europe during this time, but herbal infusions made from local plants like mint, sage, and rosemary were commonly consumed during winter feasts. These herbs were valued for their warming and medicinal properties. Monasteries were centers of herbal knowledge. Monks cultivated herbs such as chamomile, fennel, and mint, and used them to make soothing infusions. During Christmas feasts, these drinks were often offered to pilgrims and the poor as a symbol of hospitality and charity. During the Middle Ages, as trade routes expanded, Europeans were introduced to exotic spices like cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg. These spices were brewed into hot beverages such as wassail, a spiced cider or ale consumed during Christmas festivities and communal gathering. The word is from the Old English greeting wassail, meaning be whole, or be in good health. In the late Middle Ages, mulled wine emerged as the forerunner of holiday drinks. Called hypocras, named for Hippocrates, it became a popular celebratory drink, often served warm with honey and spices. Dutch and Portuguese traders introduced tea to Europe in the early 17th century. In the late 1600s, it became a fashionable beverage in aristocratic circles and eventually influenced holiday gatherings. The Dutch celebrated Sinterklaas, who wears a red bishop's robe, mitre, and staff with a long white beard and visits on December 5th, the eve of St. Nicholas. Children left their shoes by the fireplace or windowsill and awakened to find treats such as oranges and candy if they'd been good. Dutch settlers brought Santa Claus to New Amsterdam, later New York, where Washington Irving, Clement Clark Moore, and Thomas Nast established Santa's modern appearance, arrival by sleigh, and home at the North Pole. In Britain and its colonies, including America, tea-drinking rituals became an essential part of social and holiday celebrations. Unique blends with spices, fruits, and herbs were prepared for Christmas and New Year's feast. By the 1830s, tea had spawned its own afternoon meal. The Victorians, inspired by Charles Dickens' depictions of Christmas, embraced tea drinking as a central part of holiday gatherings. Tea rooms and homes served holiday blends featuring cinnamon, cloves, orange peel, and vanilla. Herbal infusions like spiced apple cider and cranberry tea gained popularity due to their warming properties and festive flavors. Historian Erica Rappaport writes that thousands would gather in great halls to take tea, organized by temperance reformers who taught that, quote, by drinking tea instead of alcohol, consumers would achieve class and gender harmony, political citizenship, and a heavenly home, end quote. In modern times, tea companies began producing special flavor teas and holiday-themed blends, black teas with festive spices, dried fruits, and floral notes. Herbal teas such as peppermint, ginger, and rooibos are particularly popular in winter. Many cultures preserve traditional herbal infusions associated with the holidays, including Scandinavian glögg and South American yerba mate. Santa's legacy has endured for centuries through charitable giving, holiday traditions, and the enduring spirit of kindness and generosity that defines the Christmas season. Less well known is my fondness for tea.
Intrigued by what you heard in today's podcast? Would you like to learn more from our global network of Tea Biz journalists and tea experts? Remember to visit the Tea Biz website for more comprehensive coverage. That's www.tea-biz.com. Thanks for listening. Farewell till next week.
Produced by Adavita Studios. Connect your voice to the world.